I'm Old Sneelock. Welcome to another episode of Old Sneelock's Workshop. I'm in the spare bedroom, which we call the office, because it has a desk in it with the printer and the other stuff. But we also have a bed in here, and it's a spare bedroom that we call the office. One problem. This house was set up to have the center post, which is the stairway to the basement, surrounded by hallways. Always a good idea. That way you can get around the rooms and everything's just fine. What we probably run into is, but there's a light switch to this room here, but there's none over there. So when you walk through, especially at night, you walk through, you turn the light on, then you walk out and the light's still on. Now that's fine if you're returning that way, but if you go the other way, the light in the office is still on, so you have to walk around to that switch to shut it off. And it's been a pain in the butt. It's been that way a long time. And I said, I'll put in a three-way switch and we'll put another switch over by the other door. You can walk through and turn it off. Well, Lydia, having a certain knack for picking out the one good idea for every project, said, why don't we put in one of those lights sensing switches that if somebody's in the room and they detect the motion and it's dark, the light comes on. If it's not dark, the light doesn't come on. And I said, genius idea. So I took the spare floodlight and brought it up here and set it up in the room so I can work in the dark and actually take pictures so you can watch along. Menard sells this Lutron motion sensor. Works with all bulbs. 3 times more reliable than the competition. What's that mean? If the competition fails every time, these guys only fail 3 times. It's one of those ambiguous things that you really can't trust for anything other than maybe horseshoes. But I'm going to be putting this in here because I have a reasonable expectation it's going to work. And if it doesn't, I'll put the old switch back in. So there's a whole big packet of directions. And we should always read the directions because that's what keeps us from getting into trouble. So I've already read the directions and I've gone through the whole process. So I'm just going to go ahead and take this switch out. See? Not lighting, so power is off. But I'm going to do another thing. I'm going to check, see if there's any power in this thing before I do any work inside of it. I have to take the plate off, and then I can reach down in and touch the conductors with this, and if it lights up, there's power. There isn't any power, but you know, you always want to check. Is get this out of the wall, and it has been painted over many times, so you always have a problem getting the paint out of the screws. So I just take the edge of the screwdriver and act like a chisel, and with the palm of my hand tap the paint out of the groove. Worked on a lot of old houses in my life. The ones that I bought and ones that I was working on for somebody else because they wanted to have lights and didn't want to do it themselves. I might have to move that floodlight back. I've got more than enough light and it is warm. And even though it's only 41 degrees outside, We keep the house heated. It's one of those things that people do. There. Pull the paint out. It has to be grounded. It has to be connected to the neutral wire, and that's what this is. This switch has to have a neutral wire in order to work because the sensor has to be powered all the time. Now, switch circuits typically have power on one side coming in, but there sometimes isn't a wire going out. It's not a requirement for a light switch. You only have to break the power lead. So if you want to run just one wire into the outlet or into the reset box, you certainly can. This switch will break that wire, and the neutral can be in another location entirely, clear up in the ceiling. But most people run Romex, which means that it comes with a neutral wire in it. So they'll just pass the power up through the switch box and leave the white wires connected. Okay, now pull this off. This tape is older than the hills. And it's only 3/8 of an inch wide. I've never seen electrical tape in that small a width. Take that back. I've seen marking tape with that small a width. Maybe they used black marking tape. I don't know why they would, but they did. That's black wire. And that's white wire. This system was wired old school. They soldered the connection. They twisted it together and ran solder on it. Not a bad thing. Just a thing. Now, I don't know why they have wires instead of screw terminals, but that's what they've got, so we'll go with what they've got. Now, if you got enough additional wire, you can just cut these loops off. But since this house is made with very, very old wire, and very short, and they ran it through the ceiling. Now, this is a ranch house. Ranch houses have a 12-floor pitch. So there's no room to crawl around in the attic. Now what am I doing? I'm going to test this thing to make sure it works. Before I get the mounted in the wall and everything's all done, I want to know that this thing actually functions. So I got to go downstairs and turn on the power. Well, I went downstairs and turned on the power, and this switch evidently arrived in the on position. So it's on. Now there's some tests that I have to run in this voluminous set of instructions. It's actually pretty simple stuff. And it's in large enough print that I can read it easily. Let's see. Interrupter detection de presence. Oh, this is in French. Good thing there's an English side, huh? Because I'm not well versed in French. Let's see. Turn power on the circuit breaker. Once power has been restored, the sensor will not automatically control the load for the first 2 minutes. Fair natural light. Okay, now I'm going to leave it set for a little bit and see if it goes off. I'll probably have lunch. It works. Now I just got to get a different plate for it. This one needs a white one, and the one I had was this off-color one. So we'll get a different plate for it, different switch plate, and it'll be just fine. Because you can turn the light off, turn the light on, turn the light off. Just casually stroll through and the light comes on for you. When you leave the room, 5 minutes later the lights go off. I'm not going to leave the camera running and make you wait. Just trust me on it. It works. If you have any suggestions for a new video, questions about today's video, or any of the other videos on the channel, just drop a note in the comments. You know I read them all. Thanks for watching. This video is not to be viewed by anyone under the age of 13 in the U.S. or 16 in the European Union, without the express written permission of the parents or legal guardians of the underage person. Such written permission must be on file at the local government entity in charge of enforcing the rules and regulations established by the FTC. Anyone violating these terms is admitting by default that they hold harmless the owners and operators of this channel. Any and all questions should be addressed to your local branch of the FTC.